In this video, we are going to talk about section 6.3, which is solving percent problems using percent equations. So the first thing that we have to do is we need to be able to take a percent problem that somehow involves words and translate that into an equation that we know how to solve. So some things that are very important to look at. The first is the word of in math means multiplication. So whenever you see of, you should think that's going to mean we're going to multiply. The word is meaning equals. So when we see is, we're going to turn that into an equal sign. And the word what, which is usually referring to what we're trying to figure out, that's going to represent our variable. And of course, percent obviously means percent per 100. We talked about that in previous videos. And so that means we're going to take whatever percent and we're going to, of course, turn it into a percent, which is by multiplying by 1 over 100, or 0.01. And then the rest of the numbers in the word problem are going to stay the same. So for example, 66 is 55% of what? Well, 66, that's just a number. It stays the same, so that comes down. Is, remember that means equals, so it's going to come down as an equal sign. 55%, well, that's going to come down as our 55 and then percent, meaning times 0.01, or 1 over 100. Of means times, and what means our variable, or x. So when we translate that into an equation, we have 66 equals 0.55x. Okay? All right, so now we're going to practice that for just a second. Let's look at this one. 24 is 25% of what? Okay, so again, just pull out the pieces and turn it into an equation. So here we have 24 is means equals 25%, so 25 times 0.01 of, meaning we're going to multiply, and what, of course, is our variable. And when I simplify that, I would get 24 equals 0.25. That's what I get when I multiply 25 times 0.01, and then times x, meaning just 0.25x. That was very similar to that example there. Okay, here's a couple more. 16.8 is what percent? So what is, of course, our variable. Percent, remember, means times 0.01. Don't forget that. Of, meaning also again multiply, and then 60. So when I multiply this all out and simplify it, I get 16.8 equals, and then when I multiply these three things together, I'm going to get 0.6x. Okay, what is 85% of 140? Well, so again, what is, so what is our variable, is equals 85%, so 85 times 0.01 of, again meaning times, and then 140. So when I simplify this one, I actually have to multiply all these things together, and then I'm going to get this one. I'm not trying to solve it, but it just sort of happens that way by default. When I multiply those together, I get x is 119. So that's sort of solved by default. And then our last one, 62% of what is 111.6. So 62% times 0.01 of, meaning multiplying, what, our variable, is, there's the equals, and then 111.6. So when I simplify here, I get 0.62x equals 111.6. Now these said that we weren't going to solve them, but guess what? We're going to solve them here pretty quick. Okay? So solving them, we're just going to work through just like we have solved other equations by getting the variable by itself. Okay, so this was our original problem, which was 66 is 55% of what? It was translated here. You solve this by dividing by 0.55 on both sides. In this case, we got 120. So we say 66 is 55% of 120. And that's our answer. Okay? So now let's look at a couple. What is 9% of 130? So we're going to go ahead and translate to an equation and solve. So what is means equals 9%, so 9 times 0.01 of, meaning times, and then 130. This is one of those interesting ones because it's going to solve right for us. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify by multiplying those all out, and I'm going to get x, or what, is equal to, and this is 11.7. Okay, so I now say 11.7 is 9% of 130. Okay, now let's do this one. 45.5 is what percent, so x percent times 0.01 of, again, times, and then 70. So I simplify 45.5, and then when I multiply these together, I'm going to get 0.7, or 0.70, but we don't need to add the extra 0, times x. So now we solve, and we divide by 0.7 on both sides. So I take my 45.5 and I divide by my 0.7, and I get 65 equals x. So now to answer the question, 45.5 is 65%, you can write percent, but I'm also okay with you using the percent symbol, of 70. Okay? I think we got a couple more here. Let's take a look. Sure enough, 12% of what is 5.76? So 12%, 0.01, of what? So of what is our variable? You don't have to use x for your variable, but it's the most common. And that's probably what I'll use, sort of my default variable, 5.76. So when I simplify, I get 0.10x equals 5.76. So we're going to go ahead, and to solve this, what do I need to do? That's right, we're going to divide by 0.12 on both sides. You know how to do this. And I get x equals 48. So then I answer my question. 12% of 48 is 5.76. It's really important that you answer the question when you're all said and done. X equals 48 doesn't mean a whole lot to me, but when you write it back in that sentence, it really does. Okay? Here we go. 71% of, meaning times, 34 is what? So then I'm going to go ahead and simplify, and process of multiplying all this out, and I get 24.14. That should be a 4. Let me go ahead and fix that. Sometimes my pen doesn't work as well as I need it to. Equals my x. So now I write it out. 71% of 34 is 24.14. And here we go, last one. 28.8 is 32%. Remember that percent means I got to have that 0.01 in there, of, meaning multiplying, and what is my variable. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify. How do I solve? You're right, we got to divide. 0.32, 0.32. You're probably a little faster than me, but that's okay. So I get 90 equals x. Don't forget, always important to answer the question that is being asked. So 20.8.8 is 32% of 90. So this is how we translate our percent problems into equations that we can then solve. Alrighty, we'll see you in the next lesson.